First up, we have public comments, and we have a microphone at the podium, 4 speakers. We ask that comments be kept to 3 minutes in length and that they deal with agenda items or items relevant to the city, and that they are addressed to the Common Council. The longer list will start off. Tom Goebel.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm here, a comment for number 2. Fluoridation in the water. I put a couple comments down. So if a study is needed and it says that we do need fluoride in the water, I hope we'd have a public hearing if there was a vote or even a referendum. When water is involved, I get a little scary what could happen and the who and what. I'm just a little scared what could happen to the water system if something leaks in the water. But this study will show alternatives, I believe, that we can have to make it better. But I can't vote one way or the other if I could, because I'm not sure of all the facts yet, and we have experts here with the facts. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Steve Muka.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to speak on agenda item number 2 about fluoridation. This would affect so many people, 20, 30,000 people. Fluoride is a prescription drug, and so it'd be like if we were to fluoridate the water, a doctor just saying, okay, there are 20,000 people, yeah, I'm just going to write a prescription. I just know you'll all get the proper dose, which can never occur. Little babies and older people, people with medical problems. It's about freedom and rights. I mean, you can buy toothpaste with fluoride in it. You can get the pills if you want. To put it in the water forces everybody to consume it. It's hard to get out. It's not like chlorine where you can get the shower filters. It's sort of short notice for something as important as this to get people here to speak. There are 4 people I know that would like to have been here to speak to this issue. They couldn't make it tonight. The idea that there's a deadline to vote on some funding coming right up sort of pushes the issue when I think it's such a big issue. We shouldn't have a time element forcing a decision. So that's too bad, but you can just say we're not going to do it. We need the public to be able to express their views before anything, which is what I would prefer. Pete Perry, who is in charge of the water department for Cortlandville, I think sent all of you an email and wanted to be here tonight but couldn't. He's against fluoridation, has done a lot of research about it. It's an interesting substance. It's not pure. It's from industrial water scrubbers of fertilizer industry, and it has things like lead and arsenic in it. And a lot of it now that some communities that are putting this in their water comes from China now. It has a lot of side effects. It accumulates in your body. We can't get rid of all of it. So over time there's more and more. And some of the side effects are quite significant. IQ and older people with more fragile bones. And little, if any, effectiveness if you look at other countries that don't fluoridate. Their dental rates are better than this country that fluoridates in many places. So there's definitely other ways to handle the issue. What I wanted to let you know about is, I mean, it's great to think about ways to improve health and dental health. The way that works in my mind is I've got a couple of kids that have 1 cavity each and they're in their late 20s. It's tooth sealants. And the Peekskill Schools in New York has a program, a free dental sealant program. And based on my kids and my experience, it's wonderful. It's expensive if you've got to go and buy them for yourself with a dentist, and it gets interesting because it's $70 out.
Steve, we're at 3 minutes. I apologize. We need to move on.
Okay, just a second.
Okay, but point of clarification, it is a discussion. It is not up for a vote this evening.
Yeah, no, I just one more second. I have this book, Case Against Fluoride. Dr. Connett wrote the book. He's a PhD chemist that knows an awful lot about this subject and has been around the country and around the world speaking about it. He's here tonight and would like to be part of the discussion because there's two sides to this, and if you're trying to make a decision, it's good to hear all sides, especially.
And that's a very good segue because our next speaker is Mr. Paul Connett. Thank you, Steve.
Good evening. Thank you so much for letting me chat here. I think I was here about 16 years ago in your last fight against fluoridation. The good news is I've now moved a lot closer to you. I'm only at Binghamton, a short 35 minutes away from here. So I'll be very happy to offer myself as a resource in any discussions that you have. I'd be happy to come back and debate any proponents of water fluoridation. I'm a little trepidatious about a study. If it's financed by the Department of Health in New York State, they are very, very pro-fluoridation, and the conclusion will be a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're going to spend a lot of taxpayers' money on a study, then please make sure you have people on both sides of this debate so that we can get some real focus on the contentious issue. I taught chemistry at St. Lawrence University for 23 years. My specialty was environmental chemistry and toxicology. And as Steve has told you, I co-authored this book with two other scientists, The Case Against Fluoride. Just a few things that you should bear in mind. One of the things that you hear is that fluoride is natural. It occurs naturally in water in certain places. It occurs in the sea. But occurring in water is not a function of nature. It's a function of geology, which rocks the water has flown through. Nature's guide on fluoride is the level in mother's milk. And that is extremely low. It's 0.004 parts per million. We fluoridated about 1 part per million. This means simply that nature is protecting the newborn baby from fluoride. And water fluoridation removes that protection, because a bottle-fed baby in a fluoridated community is getting about 200 times more fluoride, as I said, nature intended, 200 times more than a breastfed baby. Now, there's one thing that we know that will happen if you fluoridate the water. Your rate of dental fluorosis, which is discoloration, mottling of the teeth, will go up. No question about that. The rate in the United States is 41% of American children 12 to 15 have this condition called dental fluorosis, which means they've been overexposed to fluoride. But that's what you can see. What you can't see is what the fluoride is doing to your thyroid gland or to your brain. There have now been over 300 studies, both animal studies and human studies, which shows that fluoride is neurotoxic. Now think about this for a moment. Think of all the steps that our government is taking to limit exposure to children to both lead and mercury. Why? Because they're neurotoxic. And then for us to turn around and deliberately add a neurotoxic substance to the drinking water is absolutely bizarre. But you'll find in this issue, it's very difficult for the science to be heard against the entrenched political position of our government agencies. So the FDA has never regulated fluoride. The EPA only regulates contaminants of the water. And so it's left to one agency, the Department of Health and Human Services, who take no responsibility for the safety. They promote fluoridation, the CDC. And so I'm here to say, look, I've studied the science for 21 years. I've documented it all. I think Steve is going to make sure that you all get a copy of this book. But I'm here to give you the other side. Now, just because there are two sides doesn't mean that my side is right. But I think you owe it to the citizens to hear both sides. And I'm here, and I will come back for a debate. Whenever you need me, I'll be here, because I'm only 35 minutes away. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Megan Nagel.
So, good evening. I'm also here to speak against fluoridation. And I am doing the turnabout that some of my friends don't know yet. And I'm speaking on behalf of several people who could not be here and read one letter to the editor that should appear in the next couple of days. I came here 16 years ago fully convinced that fluoridation would be a good thing because I'm concerned about the well-being of poor children in this town. And I was really puzzled that the vote went the other way. And today I'm a little more informed, and I've looked at the films that also interviewed Dr. Connett, and I must say I am very much persuaded that this is a neurotoxin that is not a vitamin and should not be put in the drinking water on the precautionary principle, which I know a little bit as an ethicist about, that we should not medicate all of us indiscriminately. So I'm reading here from Donna Lieberman's letter, and she says that there are two types of fluoride that are put into water systems for fluoridation that are hydrofluorosilicate acid and sodium fluorosilicate. These are industrial byproducts, as has been mentioned, not the pharmaceutical grade sodium fluoride found in toothpaste or used by dentists for fluoride treatments. And Chastity, who owns the local food store, is very interested in organic foods. Says, the toothpaste says specifically do not swallow. So this is a pharmaceutical grade product, and it said don't swallow. But with the industrial waste, no neurotoxin, we are told to swallow lots of times, right? And it won't do any harm. And City of Cortland workers will have to handle these chemicals, she says. The workers' health could be jeopardized by handling these chemicals in their concentrated form, and the video in Inconvenient Tools certainly makes reference to that. In the years since Cortland last debated this issue over a decade ago, China has become the source of most fluoride now put into US water supplies. There's little oversight as to how fluoride is manufactured in China. Fluoridation corrodes pipes and can leach lead out of pipes. The infrastructure of Cortland is aging. Lead in our water would be harmful to our health, the health of our children, the health of SUNY students, and could possibly affect the resale values of our homes. The Center for Disease Control recommends fluoridation. Just ask the people of Flint, Michigan how much they trust the CDC. But to me, the most compelling reason against fluoridation is delivering a drug via the water supply, as in what she says, idiotic way of delivering any drug, especially one that has conflicting scientific evidence regarding its effectiveness and safety. One should not bathe, wash their car, fill their pool, wash their pets, or water their lawns with drug-laced water. And I really worry also about the businesses, the organic farmers in town, who depend on pure drinking water. Now I want to turn things around. I won't read the rest of the paper because I'm running out of time. I brought my little gadget. This is an ozonator. Yeah. And in swimming pools around the world, for Olympic purposes, for competitive swimmers, they don't use chlorinated water, but they use ozone. And in fact, I was told when the Olympic team was in the swim team, was hosted by the LA, Los Angeles, they had to actually dump their chlorinated water and put in ozonated water, right? I own this machine. It's wonderful to drink this water. And so the point is, let's move visionary the other way. Let's think about what is already problematic about our local water supply, right? And that we're chlorinating when we should be using ozone for treatment, and so that I don't have to use all these fancy machines to get all that chlorine out of my system, right? There's also an enterprising gym owner in Syracuse who uses salt water for his gym, right? Just an idea for SUNY Cortland, perhaps, right? Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Schaub.
Hello, my name is Dr. Tim Schaub. I'm a chiropractor who practices here in Cortland. Currently, I've practiced here since 1978. And I also have my master's degree in clinical nutrition, which I earned from the University of Bridgeport, Connecticut in the early 1980s. And I agree with Mecca, it would be great not to see Mayor Tobin's students swimming and breathing and sucking in water from a sea of carcinogens. That would definitely happen if we put fluoride in the water. Fluoride has been since 1963 designated as not a nutrient, but as a drug, and it is further classified as a neurotoxin, as Dr. said. It is dangerous to people with kidney disease. In fact, currently there are 20 million people in the United States who have been diagnosed with chronic kidney disease. And they say that there's probably, in the city of Cortland, that there are probably, as far as I can figure, almost 2,000 people of Cortlandites that have kidney disease, according to the national average of 8%, with another 1,500 people within the city of Cortland that would be at risk for having to process the fluoride out of their system. And of course, as everyone here has mentioned tonight, I will mention again that we're not talking about simply putting fluoride in the water. We're talking about putting carcinogens such as mercury, lead, and this is the same state that spent millions and millions of dollars trying to get rid of lead in the buildings in Syracuse when I started practice there in 1979. The National Kidney Foundation has said that individuals with chronic kidney disease should be notified of the potential risk of fluoride exposure. But I think that everyone should be notified of the potential risk of lead, mercury, fluoride, and the other chemicals that we don't even know what is going to be in this stuff. My parents moved here to Cortland, particularly because of the reason there was no fluoride. Fluoride at the time in the science in the 1950s and 60s, when they were giving kids these little red pills that had fluoride in, I had many friends in high school from Cortland who took those pills and their teeth were mottled, and they had that strange appearance to them that is not healthy. On top of it, we have, not only do we have 20 million people with chronic kidney disease, but we also have over 33 million diabetics in the United States, which means that within the city Cortland limits, we probably have almost 3,000 or 2,763 diabetics. Now, when fluoride is put into the body, as we've stated, it doesn't just exit, it stays in there. So with that problem, most of the diabetics are also hypothyroid, also have hypothyroidism, and we have millions and millions of people in the United States with hypothyroidism, and they expect that it's going to be over 60% of the people in the United States. So when you get that fluoride in the system, the kidneys have to work twice as hard to get rid of it as they normally do. And because people with kidney disease, of which I happen to be one of them because I was exposed to a neurotoxin from a brown recluse spider bite, so I'm not big on putting any more neurotoxins in it. I'll be very honest, if they did this, I would be the first one to leave. Dr. Strangers would be the first one to leave. Our children and our grandchildren would be the first ones to leave, because I couldn't deal with that. And people could not eat out at restaurants that have those problems. Right now, our practice attracts people. We have people coming from Canada this weekend. We have people from Buffalo to the Bronx, Albany, Schenectady, families from Syracuse that come down here. They come down here, they eat in the local restaurants. They wouldn't come. I can tell you that right now. They wouldn't come for a couple of reasons. One, A, because I wouldn't be here, Don wouldn't be here, and two, because they wouldn't eat that. So, and I could go on for much more than 3 minutes, but Brian's knocking me off, so I'm off. Thank you.
Mike Moshkowski.
Thank you very much. I just want to tell you I'm totally opposed to it. Make it simple. I've been watching this for 40 years, since my kids were introduced to the tablets, which they didn't take by their pediatrician. And I told him to take them because my kids weren't going to take them, and he talked about the teeth. And I said, if we watch what our kids eat, I don't have to worry about their teeth. But I said, I'm not going to have my kids ingesting a crystalline salt, toxic waste from the manufacturing of aluminum. And he looked at me like I was crazy. Obviously, he didn't know where it came from. But this poisonous crystalline salt, which of course is made by the reaction to hydrochloric acid in the manufacturing of aluminum and even use of fertilizers. And the good doctors here explained far more than I could ever explain, but I've been watching it in the news for 40 years. And most of the countries in the world have banned it. There's, to my understanding, and I could be wrong, but the last time I read this information, there were only 9 countries in the world that were using it, and we were one of them. And even China's not using it, but they're selling hundreds of tons of this powder to America. And we don't know what's mixed in with that powder either, knowing what goes on in China with lead paint and kids' toys and sheetrock and everything else. Nobody tests the powder, they just scoop it out in their hazmat suits and put it into the systems. And I'm just very concerned because we have great water here. Thousands of people, I believe, in Cortland County don't believe it should be introduced because it is a neurotoxin. It's not necessary. The kids' teeth are the parents' responsibility, not the city's responsibility. It could be contributing to the Alzheimer epidemic we have in America because when I was a younger man, I didn't see the Alzheimer problem like we see now, and it doesn't leave your body. It gets lodged in the bones, tissue, muscle, and brain tissue. And I'm concerned about that because I don't think any city government has the right to force anyone in their city to drink something in their drinking water that they're paying for without their permission. And I think it's socialistic. It's a big brother mentality that's saying to me and thousands of others, we know better than you as to what you're going to drink. It's in the sodas, it's in the fruit juices, it's in bottled waters. They're even selling water now, spring water, at Tops, pure spring water, with fluoride added to the label on it. Fluoride added for $1.19 a gallon. Now anybody in their right wouldn't buy that, but I'm sure there are probably people are thinking, you know, I should ingest that. I don't think we should be ingesting that. I don't think any city government who took an oath to protect the people of this city and county and state should listen to government and the professionals who don't live here that you need to give fluoride to your people in their drinking water. We got great water here, good water, and I don't think we need a neurotoxin in it. And I'll fight it to the best of my ability. I've been living here 30 years, and thousands of cities across America have introduced fluoride into their drinking water, and all you hear about is what great it'll do to the teeth. Well, I don't think you should be worried about my teeth or my kids' teeth. I'm worried about my brain and my bones drying out before I'm 60 years old. Of course, I'm 65. But I mean, I have concerns about this, big concerns, and I think thousands of Americans do as well. And I think city after city has capitulated to the strong-arm tactics of our government, state government and federal government. To my understanding, San Diego last year was sued by the federal government because it refused to use fluoride in their water for 60 years. And the government forced them to put fluoride in their water. And now they're appealing it. So that gives to tell you what government thinks about the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dawn Strangers?
Hello, everybody, and thank you for allowing us to speak here tonight. I have my PhD in Transcultural Studies, Energy Medicine, which is global wellness. And I went to Cornell, and I kind of made an environmental study around there as well. And just to note, Ithaca has banned fluoride in their community. You can't get much past the scientists if you're trying to push something through in Ithaca. There are a lot of experts there, and they wouldn't allow it. I've seen this in other environmental issues too, where they tried to relocate such environmental dangers in other parts of the state, and where they weren't so outspoken and scientifically based. But more pertinent is, in my past, I was the hazardous waste administrator for Niagara County. So I was dealing with the Department of Health, the EPA, and other agencies such as that. We had a couple of communities in Niagara County that were highly polluted. And I can tell you that the New York State Departments of Health and Department of Environmental Conservation is basically promoting their own activities. They are not really advocates for your local health. So, with that in mind, I want you, especially in your decision making, to understand that we are our own advocates here. And we want to trust you, we want you to trust us, and we're getting quite a vocal demonstration here today. In addition, I agree with what the doctors were saying here. When I moved here 7 years ago, I was really impressed with my background that Cortland did not have fluoride. I thought, wow, this is really outstanding to move to a community that's small and rural, which I like, and they had the insight not to fluoridate. Now I was quite surprised to find out that this is up for discussion again, given a lot of the recent research that has been surfacing, especially concerning about the IQ points lowering in children who've been exposed to fluoride. Also concerning is the fact that how much are we really getting? Okay, so a number of us are probably using fluoride toothpaste, which I myself have banned from my kids for years now because I knew of the effects of fluoride. Then that's in some of the medications. There are fluoride components in some of the medications, which have appeared in public water sources, like, for instance, the antidepressants. So now you've got a little bit more in there than what you might say your parts per million would be put into the water. So there's no way to tell how much we really would be getting if it were in our water supply. We can pretty much acknowledge that in Europe they're far advanced from where we are as far as they have their foods that are genetically modified labeled. We haven't gotten that far here, which is kind of a trend that you could say is, you know, important to us. Along with that consideration, 97% of European water is without fluoride, and that's intentional and for a reason. Germany has banned it in all of their water because they said that, and this is a quote, because of the problematic nature of compulsory medication, which is what this would be. In France, they've excluded fluoridation due to, quote, ethical as well as medical considerations. So this is not a nutrient as the research, which is antiquated from the 50s, told us, just as they said that if we did get hit with an atom bomb, we could secure ourselves by duck and cover and covering our heads with our arms. Just in the same way, we need to be our own advocates, and I thank you for considering all of these facts, and I'd like to thank you, Doctor, for coming. So thanks again, and consider wisely.
Thank you. Thank you. Debbie King.
Thank you, Mayor and Common Council members. I wanted to come to this meeting tonight to let you know that I strongly oppose putting fluoride in the water for many of the reasons that were cited here tonight. And I just wanted to briefly mention some of the problems that have come forward from different studies that have been done on fluoride added to the water, and the health effects that that has had on so many people. I'm just going to read a little bit of a list here. Hypothyroidism, ADHD, calcification of the pineal gland, crippling bone disease, skeletal fluorosis, joint pain, osteoarthritis, kidney disease, gastrointestinal effects, male infertility, cardiovascular disease, bone fracture, diabetes, endocrine disruption, acute toxicity, cancer because of fluoride is a mutagen. And also, there's been 300 studies on the brain showing that fluoride is indeed a neurotoxin. And I just wanted to also mention that we put fluoride, which isn't really what we think of as fluoride, and I think this newspaper article in the Cortland Standard was a bit misleading because, excuse me, it said, find it. That fluoride is a naturally occurring mineral found in soil and water. Well, that is true, but that is not the fluoride that's being put in, that is put into water systems in municipalities. It's hydrofluorosilicic acid, and sodium fluorosilicate. And these two, as has been mentioned by the doctors, comes from industrial manufacture of things like phosphates, and it's taken from those scrubbers, and it is not cleaned up. Nothing is done. It's just taken and put in bags and sold to us, and we just dump this toxic waste into our water system. If they had to dispose of these toxic waste, it would cost an enormous amount of money. So now they just tie it to, well, it's good for your dental health, so we're just going to throw it into your water system, and it magically becomes a wonderful substance that we all should have. And it is not the truth. And I would encourage anybody to look into that, because that is the fact. And also another issue, or another thing I wanted to mention is how would we ever, how could we be assured one person would get the right amount of fluoride, another person would get enough fluoride for it to become toxic? Because we're talking about different body weights, we're talking about how much water they drink and how many different things they consume, toothpaste, all kinds of different places where they would get fluoride, and so there's no way to really regulate that amount that they would be getting that would be safe. And as we can see, and as we've been shown, there's very grave concerns about the safety of fluoride in the water. So I just wanted to encourage you to please research this matter, and I just ask you that you would keep our water safe and clean as it has been all these years. Thank you.
Thank you. Dane King.
Hi, my name is Dan King. I've been a resident of Cortland for over 20 years. I thank my fellow citizens for full disclosure as somebody who doesn't believe in the alleged benefits of fluoride. I just wanted to make two other points which I don't think were made tonight. The first is that as a libertarian-leaning person who believes in Jefferson's statement that the government which governs least governs best, I know that there's certain things government has to do. And one of those is to protect our water supply. I think the city of Cortland has a great water supply. It's testing over the years has shown very low level of contaminants, very low level of additives necessary to keep it that way. I'm very thankful for that, and I drink a lot of that water. So I think that's important to protect our water supply. People that do believe in the alleged benefits of fluoride have other options. They have toothpaste, they have rinses, they have tablets, they have dental treatments. So that can be found in other ways. I don't think it's something that needs to be imposed upon the citizenry at large. The second point I would make is the argument is often made that, well, we have this money that's available for the federal government to make the study. It's not going to cost us anything. But as a citizen, working person who pays taxes at the federal level, the state level, and as a property owner at the local level, I know there's no such thing as a free lunch. And some of my tax money is going towards this study, whether it comes from Cortland tax money or federal tax money. And anything we can do as responsible citizens to reduce the unnecessary spending of money to study something that is so blatantly problematic and toxic and some of the other things that are mentioned, I just don't think we need to go forward with spending that money. Thank you.
Thank you. Elsie Farrow.
Well, I'm going to say I've been here probably almost 60 years. I'm old enough probably to be your grandmother. But I remember when we fought this situation not too long ago, and we put many, many dollars and time into the study of fluoride, and we voted it down, and that was our right to do that. Now for us to bring it back up, it's ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. It's a waste of my time and my money, and I already said no, and I don't want it. Thank you.
Agenda item number 2, discussion on fluoridation, and we have Mike Ryan from the County Health Department and Tiffany Kearns who have some materials I'd like to share with council.
Hello, Council. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Tiffany Kearns. I'm a registered dental hygienist here in Cortland, and I also have a bachelor's degree from SUNY Canton. And I'm here to talk to you about the Healthy Tooth Amendment and community water fluoridation. I am part of a group here. We're a coalition, and I'm sorry my slides are small. I can send you the presentation if you would like via email so you can see the full slides. And I'm part of a coalition. We formed in 2015, and we're a group of community members. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
And so we started in 2015, and we formed to address the oral health needs of our community. And as you can see on your slides, we have a great group of people, and we formed 3 committees. So we have our Oral Health Education Committee, and that has dentists, CAPCO, Family Health Network, Children's Development Council, so a wide range of advocates for our children. We have a fluoride varnish group, which includes PA, Director of Quality Services at Family Health Network, a couple others from Family Health Network, and then we have a community water fluoridation group, which is Dental Hygienists, Seven Valley Health Coalition, CAPCO, and Cortland County Health Department, and also Cortland Regional Medical Center. So what I want to talk to you about for the Healthy Tooth Amendment, this was an amendment that passed in 2015, and it addresses a couple different aspects, and one of the aspects is that it provides $5 million in funding for an oral health fund. And what this money can be used for is to support municipalities in planning and implementing community water fluoridations. It has a couple different options, which Mike will be talking to you about later, so I'm not going to waste your time. So I want to talk about fluoride, what it is and why we do it. Fluoride is a natural element. It is the 13th most abundant element. It's found in plants, soil, water, and air. Fluoridation is an adjustment of fluoride in the drinking water to a level that is optimal for reduction of tooth decay. So what we do is we test the water, find out what the fluoride is in the water that we already are receiving, and then we add fluoride to that water to make it at the optimal level. The optimal level in 2015 was changed from 1 part per million to 0.7 parts per million. So today in this country, we recommend that the level be at 0.7 parts per million, and that is because that's the optimal level for the reduction of tooth decay. This investigation of the lowering of the level from 1 part per million to 0.7 started in 2010 and was finalized after a placement on federal registration, public comment, and peer reviews. The reason was due to the fact that Americans are getting fluoride from many different sources. How does fluoride work? How does it work? So what happens is when you are a child with developing teeth, you drink water with fluoride in it, or you take a supplement. Fluoride is then absorbed into the permanent teeth, and it makes those teeth stronger. If you are an adult and you're consuming community water fluoridation, then it is restoring the lost minerals that are happening from our daily habits. So fluoride works for everyone. as you can see in the next slide. Community water fluoridation will helps you regardless of your hygiene level, your diet, your age, your socioeconomic status, or your dental insurance status. I'm really sorry that you can't see this slide because this is what really makes me as a health professional sad. Why do we prevent tooth decay? And for those of you who don't have a slide, there's pictures of tooth decay in children with abscesses and or swellings from tooth infections. And we prevent tooth decay because of infection, extreme pain, difficulty chewing, or weight gain, difficulty concentrating, crooked teeth, missed school hours, caries later in life, and costly treatments. We at Cavity Free Cortland have joined with a literacy group here in Cortland because we know that tooth decay causes children to lose hours of school, therefore lowering their literacy levels. Does it really matter? Does community water fluoridation really matter? It does. 20 to 40% less tooth decay, a $23.65 per year decreased cost in Medicaid expenditures, and it is one of the CDC's top 10 public health achievements for the 20th century. 44 out of the 50 largest cities in the United States have community water fluoridation. New York City is 100% fluoridated. And when we look at the numbers later, you'll see why our numbers in New York look like we are really meeting the goals and standards of the Healthy People 2020. And that's because New York City has so many people and they are fluoridated. The little infographic that is provided there, it just shows all the people who either receive fluoride or don't receive fluoride, how much money we save, and how many people visit emergency rooms. Also, something very interesting to me working in a private practice is once you have a decay and you have that filling, that one tooth will cost you on average $6,105 in its lifetime. One tooth, $6,000. Once it has that cavity and we put a filling in it, one filling. So where do we stand? Where do we stand here in Cortland and here in New York? Our 2013-2017 prevention agenda in New York State has a few goals. And these goals, one of them is to increase the percentage of state residents receiving optimally fluoridated water. So they want to increase that by 10%. So right now, the goal is 71.4%, and we would like to get to 78.5%. Our Healthy People 2020 goal is 79.6%. So the New York State goal isn't quite to the Healthy People 2020, but we're working on it. Another prevention agenda item is to reduce the prevalence in dental caries in New York State children. And community water fluoridation could help address that goal. The next slide here is used from the 3rd grade oral health assessments, and I'm actually one of the hygienists that goes into the schools and does 3rd grade oral health assessments. After doing that for a year, it really made me realize we need to do something. And here I am. So this graph here shows you the untreated caries and sealants in our 3rd graders. The first bar graph is our high income, the middle is our low income, and the last bar graph is our state target. And I'd like to just show you that dental caries, it doesn't discriminate.
Can you define the word caries? I'm not.
Oh, sorry. Yes,
sorry.
I might have missed. I didn't. Sorry about that. Dental caries is also dental cavities,
Okay.
or decay. So there's many different words of them. Yes, sorry about that. So as you can see, it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter what kind of money you have or don't have. You can still get cavities.
Excuse me, is this 3rd grade in the city of Cortland or the county?
That one is New York State.
Oh, this is all of New York State.
That was all of New York
okay.
State, yes.
I can't read it, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about my
Thank you.
slides being so slow. So the next one is really, really small, but I can't even see it on my thing, so I will definitely send you these slides. So this is our Cortland County oral health indicators, and it says that in our third grade children in Cortland County, we have a caries experience or a dental cavity experience of 50.1%. So that means that half of our third graders have decay, a caries experience, which means so they've had a cavity. Whether it's treated or untreated is not stated in there. Untreated caries, so kids that are walking around right now in the county, 23.5% of them have untreated cavities. It's a lot. It is. I saw a little kid the other day, and he only had the front 8 teeth here, because those are new, and he had a 6-year molars. He had a stainless steel canine and a stainless steel canine. Everything else had been extracted. He's 8 years old, and he was terrified of me. And I said, buddy, all I have is a light and a mirror and a toothbrush for you. And he's like, I get a toothbrush? I don't have to share? I don't have to share. These are what our kids are dealing with today. So then the next thing I want to talk about is our Cortland Counts. Cortland Counts is, I believe you probably are all familiar with Cortland Counts, and it just shows where we are in Cortland County, where we want to go. So only 3.2% of Cortland County is fluoridated. In upstate New York, 48.9% is fluoridated. And in New York State, 71% is fluoridated. And again, that number is skewed because all of New York City is fluoridated. I also want to add that in the economic track for Cortland Counts, community water fluoridation has been added as one of their objectives because they know that community water fluoridation will save the county money. The next chart is showing you who has fluoride and at what levels. So Cortland County is in the lowest, the 0 to 15, because we only have 3.2%. What's New York State position on this? We have conducted in New York State since 1945. We have been conducting studies, and they include reviews, synopsises, and research. We have over 40 reports that discuss the benefits versus the risk, the fluoride intake, and the enamel fluorosis. We set the bar in New York State for the 1 part per million, which now we know we have changed because of many peer-reviewed studies. So now we've lowered that level, knowing that people get it in other sources. Our Dr. Kumar, he was with public health. He was the oral public health gentleman. I can't think of his title right now. Director of Oral Health, thank you. And he conducted a study in 2010, and it found that New York State Medicaid enrollees in less fluoridated areas needed 33% more root canals, fillings, and extractions than those in areas with fluoride. 33%. And as a result, the treatment costs per Medicaid recipients were $23.65 higher than those living in fluoridated counties. I have a slide on challenges, some of the opponents, what they're going to say, and I can promise you that optimally fluoridated water has a 70-year science-backed results. Community water fluoridation is supported by over 100 national organizations. I don't want to go into naming them all, but the American Dental Society, which, isn't that kind of funny? Don't dentists want decay? Don't they make money on decay? So why would they be supporting something that's going to cost them dollars? But anyways. The Mayo Clinic, the CDC, the American Public Health, and the list is there. So why support it? Why am I here? Well, I'm here because I hate to see kids with cavities. I hate to see the pain and suffering that they have to go to. Also, I'm here because it's going to lower the dental expenditures for the county, which then lowers the costs for the city. 20 to 40% less tooth decay, 70 years plus knowledge and science to support the benefits. Better opportunities for those. If you don't have teeth, can you get a job? Think about that. And less missed days of school or work. My last slide just gives you a couple of great websites to go to. They're very informational, And I will provide the city clerk with my email, and if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me or anyone on the cavity-free campaign. I also have contacts at the state level who would gladly help in any research gathering and or data. And now Mike's going to talk to you about the grant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us here. My name is Mike Ryan. I'm the Director of Environmental Health, Division of the Public Health Department. And we're here to speak to you tonight about, in addition to what Tiffany was telling you about fluoride, the fluoridation grant litigation, why we're thinking that it would be a good idea to move ahead with the city. Basically what it is it's a $50,000 grant so that you can, at this point in time, study the technical feasibility of whether you wish to add fluoride to the system. It's a tool in the decision process that you can use in order to make the best informed decision. The grant has a fairly short deadline on it. It has to be in by the 29th of February. Just a little background. As a division engineer, as a director of environmental health, we oversee all the water supplies in the county. We care very deeply about the quality of the water. That's who we are. I can tell you that you are absolutely correct about the lead levels in Cortland's water supply, and I can tell you it's that way all over the county because I review these numbers personally. All of our people are out there all the time looking out for the health of the people of Cortland County and making sure what you have is the best one. So I just want to have that clarified because I kind of feel like I'm thinking that we're not trying to do the best we possibly can. We support fluoridation because we think that fluoridation enhances dental health and that it's integrally tied with a person's health. We support it, and as Jeffrey mentioned, all the health departments in the United States of America support it, the CDC, state levels, county levels, and there's a reason for that. We think it is important for your public health. Before I came to Cortland, I spent about 30 years as an engineer in the local area. I have a license since 1991 as a licensed professional engineer. A lot of my experience has been in public water supply. I was the chief engineer for the city of Syracuse and also the commissioner of water for the city of Syracuse. So I'm really familiar with the processes, not only of Syracuse's water supply, but all throughout Onondaga County. And I sat on the Metropolitan Water Board, and I asked advisory work in an engineering capacity for the Onondaga County Water Board. All those supplies, all the 500,000 people to the county right adjacent to us to the north, are all on fluoridated water supply. They've been on it for 5 decades. And I think that it's a great public benefit that they enjoy that I'd like to see us here in Cortland enjoy. And one thing is the fluoridation does benefit everybody in the community. It's not just the people who can afford to have their teeth done with a dentist. It's every single person who is in this county. So that's another reason why we think it's so important to move ahead. But I think, and I'm glad everybody has a different opinion. I'm glad that everybody's bringing their opinions to the council because I think a discussion should occur on issues of this nature. I think you should look at everything that you can with a positive, everything you can with a negative. I think the science strongly supports fluoridation. Others think differently. But I think the discussion should be had. I think the discussion will be had. What I think we need to do right now, though, is take a look at where we are in terms of this grant. This is a tool that you will use in order to make the decision. We're not saying you should go in and start fluoridation tomorrow. I think that would be kind of a radical move, given the differences of opinions out there. And there's a lot of people, not just in this room, that need to be heard. I think you'll find there's a large portion of Cortland County out there that is very pro-fluoridation. And I think you should have the time to consider that, how your constituents feel about it. Not just what the county thinks or what other groups think, but what do people in Cortland County get about it? So with that said, I think if you don't go ahead with the grant, then you're making a decision to just arbitrarily not fluoridate. So I wouldn't recommend that either. My recommendation is that you do seek the grant, pay the money for your technical feasibility study, and then take the time really to evaluate the situation, talk to us, talk to other people, and then make that decision on behalf of the people of Cortland. And so it's not a sales pitch, it's just I want you guys to have everything you can have. And I can assure you, as your county health department, we are here looking out for you. I want that to be very clear. Thank you very much.
Any questions for either of us?
I do have a question. Are there no grants for education or for outreach? Because I work in the schools and I work with a lot of third graders and I see some of them, their little black teeth, and it's very upsetting. But I'm one of those people who grew up with fluoridated water, and I have a spot on my tooth, and I was happy when we moved here and there wasn't fluoride in the water for my own children. However, we did get them treated at the dentist. It was applied topically so that they weren't ingesting it. And so I'm just wondering about, considering some of the concerns that were brought up, how about doing a lot more education and trying to get parents to address the problems?
We are currently at Cavity Free Cortland. We are currently working on many different alternatives to community water fluoridation. So we have our oral health education. We have a meeting on next Friday, and they will be launching some stuff. We can't really talk about it yet, but also Seven Valley Health Coalition has a education program that they do in our school systems. And maybe Jackie could speak on.
To answer your question,
Okay.
I'm Jackie Lee with Seven Valleys Health Coalition. No, there really isn't any money for education. There isn't money for fluoride treatments outside of that. We have a Rural Health Network grant, and with that grant we have a small amount of money that we use to take Mighty Molar into the schools. Every year we visit all the schools to teach the kids about how to brush their teeth, and we talk about fluoride, we talk about the rinses and eating healthy foods and making all those good choices. We have a nice little song that we teach the kids. But if there's not the value at home,
Right. You gotta reach the
they're not
parents.
going to do that. So, it ends with the kids if they don't have the value for the rural health at home. And that's a hard thing to change. If when you're struggling to make ends meet, we have a high percentage of low-income population here in Portland, and we don't have very many dentists that take Medicaid. We do have a couple now, but for many years that we didn't. So the mindset was, we'll just let them rot, we'll get them pulled, we'll get dentures, we'll get more tooth pain. So when you don't value your teeth, you're not teaching your children to value your teeth. It's a never-ending cycle. So, the fluoride really is the most cost-effective way to promote oral health and prevent decay across all levels. And the economic impact is huge. So if there were money to do that, doing the fluoride varnishes and doing the fluoride treatments, it is a possibility to do that. It's going to cost a lot more money to do that. And it's going to be a lot more human resource intensive.
I can share that slide with you that shows that also.
So there is an option to be considered, but basically we're looking at this grant as an opportunity to do that study. Seven Valleys Health Coalition is willing to help hold some forums, to have some discussion so that we can get more public opinion on the subject if we have the feasibility study going, because that's what the technical aspect of trying to costs, so that we can kind of weigh both sides. So that's what we're
I have a question about that grant. You said that it's a technical feasibility grant? Is that, what does that entail, a technical grant? Is that cost of
It's an
actually
engineering study.
implementing
About implementing what you'd have to build, how much it would cost. Not only the state wants you to have that because they're going to be giving you money on the second half, and it just is to analyze the feasibility. I mean, what will you have to spend after you build it? Basically, the grant will cover everything you need to build facilities. Then after that, you'll have to still buy
Chemicals.
Everybody's
No
afraid of that
toxins.
word, but you'll have to buy
for
fluoride.
neurotoxins.
And you will have to spend money on that. And it'll estimate how much it will be. And I can tell you right now, I haven't looked at that.
Mrs.
Probably-
Grass, gonna have like a health card, you know, is it gonna?
This is just a grant. The grant portion of this is just to look at your infrastructure.
Just an infrastructure grant.
Infrastructure grant, yes, basically, a technical assistance. So it's gonna provide the people from the state to help you.
And I
It
have
just
one other,
quantifies,
This is
you know,
a done
what it takes to put it in.
one other question regarding health. It's going to provide this wonderful health to young children, and will it have any adverse, as I heard before, any adverse effects? Say if someone has kidney disease,
Yeah.
end stage, you know, disease number 5, the last one. Will someone in that condition be able to drink fluoride?
We're not at aspects to discuss that today.
No.
We could definitely have somebody come in and talk to you about that at a further time, and I think that it is needed. The presentation I did today was very quick, and I don't think it's enough to make you to understand fully, and I don't think I would. I mean, I've sat through about 50 hours of community water fluoridation, so I just gave it to you in like 30 minutes. So I would love to be able to come back and maybe have a workshop day where you're not in a meeting to be able to help you understand and bring in the people who are the real experts.
Thank you.
I guess one of my questions is, why are there so many communities dropping fluoride that have had it for so many years?
There's constantly communities adding it and communities dropping it. I think you're seeing both things happen. It's expensive to do.
Why?
It's expensive to do, it's difficult, you know, it's another chore to do. It costs money.
A lot of their
There's a lot of people
infrastructure is
saying-
starting to fail, so that they have, that's why they created this grant. So infrastructure is starting to fail, and the communities don't have the money to maintain the infrastructure. So that's why we created this grant that's going to help to maintain the infrastructure in the communities that already have it and can't afford to upgrade. So there's a different aspects to the grant. So you could get it for a new system, you could get it to upgrade the current system you have, you can get it to just add something to the system that you have. So there's many different aspects to the grant. It's not just for systems that are like a new system.
Marathon is, they have fluoridation already, they're gonna apply to the grant to upgrade what they have.
I have one last question. Were any other towns in Cortland County in the past, did they ever have fluoridation? I heard that Homer actually had fluoridation in the past.
Homer did
and had to
have-
remove the system at a huge cost back in, I don't know, in maybe the 70s, 80s? I don't know the
It was
exact
more
time
recent than
frame.
that.
No, it's more recent. They did
More recent.
discontinue fluoridation.
They did remove it.
Yeah, and I'm not sure it was a huge cost to remove it, but they did decide that they didn't want to do it anymore. They went through 2 phases where they fed sodium fluoride and then they, fed liquid.
Were you part of that with Homer?
No, I was not.
Just a question.
I come from the city of Syracuse.
How long has this grant program been in existence? Is this the first time ever?
This is really the first time ever. It just became available in October.
In October?
Yeah, I wish we could have got it to you sooner. I was under the mistaken impression that it was pretty well known. I apologize for not spreading that over.
We just learned about it, most of us just learned about it about a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Right. I'm thankful, Alderman Carpenter, for your doing the presentation on it, approached us and learned more about it. So we realized that there's a gap there and that it wasn't because of lack of interest, but lack of knowledge that you hadn't pursued the grant, so we just going to want to kick in and help you any way we can to get the grant.
Is there a sunset date on this grant, or is it something that we could expect to be available next year as well?
I think there will be money for at least one more year. I think another $5 million going to the project. The thing what you need to realize is we're talking about fluoride, you can study it this year and then possibly apply if you decide to go with it next year. There's between $50,000 and $1 million available for actual construction facilities. So I think that really what you really need to do is to get the application under this government and when that done.
Did you say it was, you're only expecting it to be another year, and that's why you would recommend that? Or-
Yeah, because I think.
So it's only a 2-year program?
As far as I know.
It's actually only in the, so right as of today, it's only in the budget for the 2015-16 budget. So we're hoping that it's going to be in the budget again. We're projecting and we're hoping that it would be in the budget again. But we can't guarantee anything of that sort because it's grant money and it's the state budget.
And I'll be available to help you with anything we need as far as putting the grant together. As far as the city has to put the grant in, obviously, because they're borrowing the money. But we have people that can help you with the demo side of it. I can help you with the technical aspects of it. So any questions you may have. And just to be clear, that getting the grant to do the study does not obligate you to move ahead with the work. Just one more tool.
You just mentioned borrowing money.
Yeah. You might have misspoke. It's not, it's a
No, it's a
grant.
grant. It's 100%.
Yes, yes, that's what threw me off.
No, thank you for clarifying that. This is
Yeah.
misspoke. Are there any other questions?
I'll have the presentation to the mayor tomorrow, so you guys can have the real version. Thank you.
And I'll send you my information too, and again, our offer to help the grant together. But by all means, let's look and let's talk to everybody on it and make the best decision we can. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, further discussion?
Well, it's interesting. Honestly, I'm really interested in a debate. And I would like for anybody who has strong feelings one way or the other to contact your councilman so that we can hear from more people.
Express your interest in the council.
I'm having a flashback of what had happened 16 years ago, and it wasn't pretty.
I wasn't
I'm not buying it.
I'm interested in Homer, and I'd like to talk to someone from Homer that went through all of this in the past and putting it in, implementing it and removing it, and what was actually happening.
Maybe you could find out.
Okay.
Look, can anyone out there come back and ask us questions now, or should we wait till the next meeting? Or I think Dr. Connett would like to respond to what Mike Ryan and Tiffany had spoken about. I just got home.
Right, we could engage in a back and forth, but the arguments for and against, council needs to weigh whether or not the arguments for and against are relevant to this evening's discussion, because the proposal is applying for a grant. And at any point in time, the city can choose to not accept the grant. We can choose to rescind our application. So there are stopgaps, and this is why I spoke up early during public comment. We are not voting this evening.
Right.
All right, there's nothing on the floor for a vote. Knowing that there's a deadline for the grant, council has the opportunity either at the next meeting, put it up for a vote, knowing that it is still not binding in terms of whether or not the city is going towards fluoridation, or the council could just not vote to submit the grant. Either way, it does seem to be a topic that is generating a lot of discussion and a lot of interest, and it would be worthwhile to have another session at a later date and time that is geared specifically just to this topic.
It would be really interesting, because I'm not a scientist and I don't have that background, to have panels of experts who address each other's claims.
A debate, if you will.
Yes.
Possibly, yeah.
Well, based on what I've heard 16 years ago, what I learned to date is that there's been several other programs that have been added to help preschool children without fluoridating water. This money has come forth in several ways from the federal government. Health Plus, certainly a great program to help preschool children without introducing fluoride to the water. Camco Head Start, their preschool program also does an excellent job of promoting dental hygiene. So based on what I've learned 16 years ago, what I've learned now is that there's a lot more monies available to assist dentists and actually offset their costs regarding insurance money and whatnot. Better dental programs offered out there than what used to be 16 years ago, without introducing fluoride to the water system, where 80% of the people that don't need it are asked to ingest it, where it's only going to affect maybe 20-30% of the people.
Question for council, would you like to schedule a date and time in the future to try to hear more for and against?
Yes.
I would.
Okay. Time frame, what are we looking at? Within the next week, within the next 2 weeks? 2 weeks from now is our next council meeting.
Next week? That'd be the next council.
I'll be gone the week of the 15th.
That's the week of council.
It is, it's the week of council, and so what I'm hoping is that my constituents who contact me, I'll be able to tell you guys how they're feeling, and you will consider that if you vote on this, because I won't be here for that vote.
So can we have a session prior to?
I would like to be part of the session.
To council?
Yeah, next week.
Date and time, preference? Next Tuesday would be the 9th. There is a CCTVS meeting on the county. We could schedule at the same time or at a different time. That is scheduled for 7 o'clock next Tuesday. We could have it Monday, we could have it Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Thursday. Oh, Thursday.
Thursday? You're busy on Thursday, Carl?
I'm busy most of all of next week.
Sorry. We could always report back to you. Do you feel strongly about being there?
I can tell you right now, I lived in New York City for over 20 years. Fluoride in the water, I never drank the water. Didn't like the taste of it, and I don't think it was pertinent for dental decay. It was more education. I've lived here for 20 years, and I drink the water a lot more here than I did in New York City. So, fluoridization is going to help. It's more of an education for parents, for students.
I agree.
Right. CCTV is recorded and is replayed back on the access channel, so if anybody misses it.
So the suggestion, I heard a second voice speak up about Thursday the 11th.
Yep, that's fine.
So Thursday the 11th, what time? 7 p.m. What kind of a format? Who would we like to invite to speak?
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Would the council like to recognize Allison King?
Sure. Thank you. I just wanted to offer, I wanted to support the idea of the pro and con. I'm president of the Cortland League of Women Voters, and we have been contacted with a request to sponsor an educational forum. The league hasn't made a decision on that, and we'd love it if somebody else was willing to do it.
Okay.
But some things that we have learned from some similar scientific issues that are often technical and tough to figure out. One of the things that's really helpful is to come up with questions that your panelists receive in advance.
Yeah.
And getting input from a group, a varied group of people, neutral, pro, con, to weigh in on those questions. And that way people who are coming and presenting can make sure that it's technically sound, they've got the references for it, nobody's winging it. Yes, it's helpful to have Q&A from the audience as well, but if you can try to make sure some of these controversies.
I think you have a certain amount of expertise in this. You are a neutral party.
Yes. The league is neutral. I am not a fluoride expert.
Right, right.
So I just wanted to offer that
I mean,
suggestion.
expertise in putting on this sort of debate.
So, thank you.
developing questions beforehand and looking at next Thursday, the 11th at 7 p.m.
Where did you say?
Thursday, the 11th, 7 p.m.
What
Location?
Here.
We can check, and if council chambers are available. Which they should be.
There's no
Would council like to recognize the good doctor?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm having a hip replacement on February the 9th. I don't think I'll be able to make the 11th, but would you have facilities here for me to submit my testimony, answer questions via Skype?
Potentially, yeah. Okay, we could work on the logistics.
You could listen to him now.
I think we're looking at
The idea is to
laying out specific questions.
Yeah, I think what the League of Women Voters said there was very, very, very important. You want to have questions submitted in writing so that your experts are most effectively used on both sides. Really do. Otherwise, you're going to hear strong argument on one side, strong argument on the other. Nobody would really know who to believe and so on unless they both address very specific questions.
Okay. So just for my clarification, are we looking to the League of Women Voters to be coordinating this, or is this something that we're doing?
I think they
as
want us
council?
So what I'll ask is if people have questions that they would like to submit them either to council or to the mayor's office. I will work with Ray Parker, the city clerk, to compile said questions, eliminating duplicates and trying to streamline the process. And we'll try to have this done by, today's Tuesday, by this Friday. And then we will try to submit information. What I would ask is we have several people that were present this evening who felt fairly strongly enough to at least come forward and speak. And I would ask that if you are able and willing to get together and talk about who you would advocate to represent your viewpoint. Tiffany Kearns and Mike Ryan also talked, and figure out where to take it from there. Any further discussion?
And knowing the let's say the battle that has happened before, I think that it would be best to have people who are more of an expert than me at that meeting to educate. I think that it's better to provide an education than it is to debate this is this and this is this and this is this and this and this. So and I am not sure that I can have people here by next Thursday to present that. And, I mean, that's way too quick. I mean, you're talking about me getting notified about 4 days in advance for this meeting. And when you want to present in a knowledge-based presentation, you need time to prepare, and I work full-time also. So, you know, I'm not sure that that's the proper way. I just wanted to tell you that I don't think a debate is a proper format for an education session.
Given the amount of time that we've got to ingest all this, it's sooner better that we get this started.
Right. Well, and also just to reiterate that the grant process that we've asked you to submit is you could resend the grant. So if you at least got it filled out, if you agreed to fill it out and got it in, you could always decline the money and not do the environmental study, which is going to help you make a decision further down. That money isn't going to be available, like, you know, the day after the grant deadline is. I think it's May or something like that they'll be issuing that money out. So you have plenty of time. I just think it's important to have that step and find out the engineering aspect of it and what it would entail in cost.
So I do have one more question just because of that.
Okay.
filling out this grant, obviously that takes some time, and resources involved. Who would actually be submitting, completing the grant for the city to submit?
I believe is Mike here still?
Yeah, Mike will not be completing the application.
Okay.
I'm Kathy Pure, I'm Public Health Director. We're happy to facilitate with any technical assistance. Again, Mike's background is engineering. Tiffany has some resources on the water sector who can assist, but it would be the city submitting the application.
So the city would pay to submit this?
It doesn't cost anything to
cost
submit it.
Time.
The time, right, so the city would be applying for the grant, and I do have contact information of people who will help you to apply in that grant, but you do have to have somebody from the city, like filling in.
And speaking from the city standpoint, that we understand that it would be a tight time frame to be ready by next Thursday, but it is also a tight time frame for the application.
Right.
And as a mayor, I'm not willing to commit a lot of city resources going into something that the council's not going to support farther down the road.
I totally understand that.
So we do need to do something
So
regarding public.
Right, I think an education-based forum would be better than a debate per se.
Well, when
We will have questions,
Right.
and we will look for responses.
Right.
We will
It's
attempt to
not a
stay
show.
away from a back
That's
and
what I'm
forth.
afraid of, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It will be, the way I'm envisioning it, very similar to public comments, where comments should be directed to council, to the public, not from one person to the next. And asking, we will have questions, I believe, regarding specific points, and probably points that were raised not just today, but things that are out there in the literature currently.
Perfect. And I can definitely attend that.
Does that mean council approval?
Yeah.
We'll move on to agenda item number 3.